Assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to our very first video on Spring Minds. Now guess what we'll be talking about is my favorite word. It's the word you've been hearing most of the times. The word is development. Now what do we actually mean when we say children develop or when they grow? Now I'm sure the usual thing will be is the changes across time span, or we look at it from the perspective of size, so we know that the baby is growing bigger. But have we considered development in terms of complexity? What do I mean by that? Now you know that when there's a sperm and there's an ovum and they fertilize, there's an egg, the fertilized egg, right? Now that is just a single cell. But then how does a baby grow from that? We have the prenatal stage, right? So it goes through the germinal stage, right, to the embryonic stage where most of the systems are growing, and then to the fetal stage where the brain development is very at its peak. Because how is it just a single cell, but then we end up having a baby with limbs, with a well-developed head and everything? Now, a very defining factor of development is the fact that there are new forms of it. Again, when the baby is born, you realize that initially the child will not be, when you are playing with the child and then the child you're holding something and then you hide it from the child. At that point, the moment it's out of the child's sight, it's out of their mind. But then this child is going to grow to become someone who would understand that the fact that you've taken it out of my sight doesn't mean that it's no longer there. So now the child is going to trace the direction to which you are hiding the thing from. That's cognitive development, right? And then you're going to have that same child who might be lying idle, they can't help themselves, become the child who start crawling and walking and running around. And also you see the child who cannot communicate, who just cry, who just coo, who just blab, become the child who is able to communicate how they are feeling. That is the complexity I want us to consider. Do we get it? So for today, we're talking about this, considering development in terms of complexity, not in terms of the fact that we are changing from maybe one stage to another across lifespan, but then how these complex things happen. And we are going to be understanding these things with theories, psychological theories, from the most known ones like Piaget to Vygotsky, to explain how these things happen, to make, so that it becomes rational to everybody listening to it. And then there is development when two things are involved, genes and the environment. There has to be an interplay between the two for us to have optimum development in children. Now we would appreciate that there's this long-standing debate in psychology about nature, that is it genes that plays a greater role, or is it the environment that plays a greater role? But I think now we are more focused on how an interaction between the two helps a child grow as expected, or as every parent would want. So we'll see that how do you as a parent, in as much as there's a genetic programming, what do you as a parent do to stimulate your child? Because when you are stimulating the child to reach out for something colorful, you are helping them to move. So it's how you as a parent are going to stimulate the child, because when you have a child lying down and you want them to reach for something, you have to put that something colorful there. That is what is going to stimulate the child to move towards that thing. And then you use things with sounds around them to also stimulate them. So yes, it has to be an interplay between the genes and the environment to see that we have optimum development in children. There are three main areas of development. So we have the cognitive. So the cognitive, that's where we see that the child who initially was in the out of sight, out of mind stage would move to the child who would want to trace to see where you are hiding that thing. So that's the cognitive bit. to a child who might be lying, like not knowing how to help themselves, to a child who you would even want to have them sit, but the child says, no, I've identified my legs, so now I just want to run around. That's the physical bit of it, with the height and the weight. And then we have the social and then emotional. So how they relate with other people, how they learn to take turns, to how they're able to express their emotions without having to have those outbursts that we don't even want to see as parents. So yes, these and other things we'll be seeing in our subsequent videos. But today, they're going to have this short one as starters. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye!